I don't know about you guys, but I've always wanted to be a millionaire. I've still also got a bit of a ways to go before I get there. So I guess now is as good a time as any to take a real intimate look at my finances. What's going on, you guys? My name is Mountain Drew. I'm a 28-year-old investor from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And it's my goal to not only seek financial freedom, but help you attain it as well. So for anyone that knows me, this is a topic that I'm genuinely very passionate about. I want to help you guys with taking the next steps into managing your finances, planning ahead for the future, and also developing a very healthy and thoughtful mindset about money as well. And this does include going into very intimate details about my own finances. Now, I know this isn't something that we normally do. It's kind of something that's frowned upon amongst most communities, where you just kind of want to not talk about it because of fear about and stuff with jealousy and like kind of just trying to avoid all those situations. But thankfully, we are on YouTube, and I think it's also just personally very important to be very transparent with you guys about my journey and where I'm coming from. So what I say can maybe resonate with you guys a bit more. So make sure to subscribe if you're new and hit that like button. So today I'm going to be kind of walking through my net worth. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over how much money I made, how much money I spent, what I invested in, and my plans for next month in order to reach my financial goals. So if you're interested in following along with my journey, if you're in a very similar spot to where I'm might be at right now, where I'm a 28-year-old trying to understand a bit more about what other people's finances are like, if you're just a very nosy individual that just wants to compare yourself to other people and see like, oh, I'm doing way better than this guy, or I'm doing way worse than this guy, this is the place for you. So before we hop into the very juicy details of my own finances, let's kind of talk a bit about what net worth actually is. So it's a pretty simple formula. Your net worth is everything you own minus everything that you owe. So what you owe will include your cash, your cryptocurrency, your house, your car, your Yu-Gi-Oh cards, your Pokemon cards, your fancy watches, anything that has a any asset that you own that has a calculable worth towards that. Now what you owe are your debts. So that's gonna be your credit card debt, mortgage payment on the house, things along those lines. So for me, I've been blessed to be in a position where I currently have no debts of my own to be worrying about at this moment. So that's no student debt, no car debt, I don't have a mortgage or any type. I was just very blessed to be born into a situation where I'd never have to never be in a situation where I'd ever have to worry about debt. So my net worth calculation is just going to be just a calculation of all the assets that I do own. So we're at the midpoint of the year. I am recording this on July 26, 2025. So I'm looking forward to see how this number is going to change by the end of August of 2025. Now with all that out of the way, let's hop in. So my total income for this month after taxes is I believe it's going to be $4,305.58. And that's my earned income that I get from my day job. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of some background history, I used to work as an actuarial analyst for various insurance companies back in the day. So I did various internships for various insurance companies. I wrote actuarial exams in order to earn my qualification to be a certified actuary in Canada. So that was a very interesting period in my life. I had a genuinely great time working in these roles. The work that you would do as an actuary was challenging but fair. You get to meet a lot of really interesting people, really interesting and intelligent individuals within that space. I genuinely do appreciate the time that I spent working in that line of work. However, as time sort of went on, and I kind of learned a bit more about myself and what I truly value when it comes to where I see myself in the future, it just felt that this type of work wasn't like a natural fit with what I believe God had intended for me. And I wanted to work and do some work that was a bit more meaningful, and some work that I felt I would have a better fit, not only for my skill set, but also for what I truly desired at the end point of my end goal for my work career. So I slowly transitioned into a new type of analyst role. So I'm essentially doing the same type of work, but I'm just kind of doing it in a line of work that I think is a much more interesting and a line of work where I feel like I can make a bit of a bigger impact compared to before. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's quickly go over the expenses that I incurred for this month. I paid about $1,400 for rent this month. I paid roughly $42 on subscription. So I have a Good Life subscription that I pay about, actually, maybe I'll probably have to update this number, but about $29.50 for every couple of weeks. So the subscription number is off. I am going to apologize for that right away. Maybe it's more like in the $70 range essentially compared to the $42 range. But so yeah, I have a Good Life subscription that I pay for twice a week, $29.50. And I also have a streaming membership that I pay for that's about $13 a month, which is Crunchyroll, which is an anime streaming site. I spent about $300 on groceries for the month. So I kind of do like a 50-50 shopping split as far as how I do my grocery shopping. Not optimal for right now, but this is just kind of what works for me. So I do a 50-50 split where I do half of my shopping at the local farmer's market. So you get some really high quality veggies, some really like that good grass-fed, grass-finished, tasty beef. I kind of go all out there whenever I can. And then I spend the other half of my shopping trip shopping at the dollar store, because that's kind of what you got to do when you're, that's kind of what I came up with when I was first starting out this whole financial independence movement that I've been going for. Over time, I do plan on going more so fully into buying goods at the farmer's market primarily, and kind of moving away from the dollar store unless it's like you can get like a really good deal on like some nice utensils or something like that. But for the time being, I think that this 50-50 split works really well for me, and it's also very manageable on my wallet as well. I then spent $130 on gas and $200 on fun, like baller money. So essentially, I don't normally spend this much money when it comes to this field, but I did have a couple dates that I went on over the past week, and I'm not the type of guy that likes to cheap out on dates. If we're going out, we're going to be going out and having some fun. So that money's out of my pocket, but I normally don't spend that much. So I'm expecting this number to go down in the next update that I do for next month. And then I spent $260 on car insurance, and I paid $58 for my phone plan that I am sharing with other people. That brings the total expenses to roughly $2,410 in expenses for the month of July, leaving me with roughly $1,900 to either invest with, save with, or reinvest with, which I'll be able to talk about a bit more about later. Next, I'm just going to do a quick breakdown of what I currently have in my TFSA as of this recording. So my TFSA currently sits at $58,409.24. My TFSA consists primarily of just 3 ETFs. So I have roughly $25,000-ish into VFV, which is the S&P 500 index fund that we have here in Canada. About $2,500 into QQC, which is the Canadian equivalent to the NASDAQ 100 fund that we have here in Canada. And then the rest of that, so roughly $7,000-ish, that's going to be into a Bitcoin ETF, FBTC. More on crypto later, but I'm pretty happy with my current 3-fund setup that I got going on right now. So like lots of risk, lots of potential for upside. Just kind of the way I like it for now. But over time, I will definitely include some more defensive stocks into this account. But for now, I'm very satisfied with just kind of going all in on growth potential and seeing where I kind of end up after all this. So my current balance in my FHSA is about $2,695.37. So for the FHSA, I'm not quite as much of a risk taker when it comes to this account, because I'm primarily going to be using the money in this account to buy a house and to buy a home. So I don't want a super large beta or super large fluxes in, I can't really deal with the super large fluxes in the stock market for that. So XEQT's got a pretty low beta. It's a very well diversified fund. So I'm just going to be sticking with that and keeping that investment very simple for that purpose. Next, I'll talk about my RRSP. So my RRSP currently holds about $5,540.23 Canadian in an American ETF called VOO, which is another S&P 500 fund. I keep it primarily in VOO compared to VFV just because the American dividend dollars aren't taxed in this account compared to where it would be taxed in like the TFSA or the FHSA. So I just wanted to kind of take advantage of that small, tiny advantage that you can get having VOO in there. So when I first started investing, I was able to max out my TFSA when I was about 18 years old. And because I had some extra money that I wanted to continue to invest with, I then put about, I think like $4,000 or $5,000 into this RRSP without thinking of the tax implications and how it would have been smarter to wait before doing that. But I just kind of wanted to have my money in the market as soon as possible, right? So that for me. So yeah, after I turned 18 and then I maxed out my TFSA and then put about that $5,000 into the RRSP, I then took a whole break from investing and not touching my investments at all up until about 2 years ago when I started to do active investing again. For the time being, I want to focus on optimizing my TFSA and FHSA, maxing out those accounts first. And then once those accounts are maxed out, I then plan on contributing some more defensive stocks into my RRSP. So I'm going to be thinking some SCHDY, kind of focus more so, because I'm very satisfied with my position as it pertains to growth and like hyper growth, and just kind of focusing on those more defensive stocks in my RRSP is something I'll be pretty comfortable with. Alrighty, next let's talk about my crypto position while we're at it. This is probably the part that you guys are waiting for. Spicy, high risk portion of my portfolio. I treat cryptocurrency essentially like I would treat venture capital. I believe very heavily into the upside of the decentralized currency, but I also know that this investment can kind of go to zero at any point. So I'm not stressing too much over this. I make sure to only invest the amount of money that I'm willing to lose into this account so that I can just kind of have that peace of mind where even if Bitcoin and Ethereum go to zero, I'm not losing much sleep over it. It happens, you know. So in general, I am a big believer into Bitcoin. Ethereum, I'm not really much of a believer into it, not so much, but the reason I have the Ethereum position that I do have in my portfolio is just because the financial advice that I was getting back in the day was saying do a 50-50 split with how much you own in Bitcoin and how much you own in Ethereum. And without doing any further research, I just kind of had that position for a bit. Lost a bunch of money on this position as I'm pretty sure I bought at like the coin's all-time highs, which was not the best thing to do, but you live and you learn, right? So, and then the only reason I haven't like converted this currency into either more Bitcoin or to just sell it off altogether was I'm just kind of too lazy to deal with the tax implications of what selling my cryptocurrency would look like. Not the best look, but I'm only doing. So with all that being said, the total amount of crypto that I currently own as of the recording of this video, I have about 43 hundredths of a Bitcoin and 72 hundredths of an Ethereum coin, which brings my total crypto position to roughly $10,500 Canadian. Next, I'm going to touch very briefly on my cash reserves that I currently own. So I currently have $1,476 in my Wealthsimple cash account for day-to-day use. So that's for groceries, just kind of like your day-to-day checking account that I've got going on there. And I also keep about $126.47 in my TD savings account. Normally I would just kind of have all my cash reserves into that one account, preferably the Wealthsimple account, but I have an Apple Care subscription that I've also been paying for a bit. And I've kind of been too lazy to update my payment information for that card, so I just keep some cash in that TD account just so I'm able to pay it off and it doesn't affect my credit card balance that I currently have. And on top of that, I also keep about $10,500 USD in dry powder, so I'm just kind of waiting for noticeable market dips, and whenever there's a big dip in the market, I'll then deploy these dollars into my TFSA or my FHSA so I can take advantage of the eventual growth that those dips will incur. And then lastly, I just want to talk about some money that's kind of been floating in my ecosystem that's not necessarily materialized into my account as of yet, but it will be hitting my account at some point. So I am waiting on a $2,300 tax refund from the government of Canada. It's just kind of been taking a while because I had a very complicated tax situation back in 2023. And I'm kind of towards the end point of that situation where like hopefully like the tax refund will just appear in my account someday. I just don't know when, but hopefully someday soon. Next, I'm just going to touch very briefly upon my plans for moving forward as it pertains to like this channel and what I want to do from it and how I'm going to factor in how to grow this channel with my finances. So starting now, from here on forward, I want to contribute about $100 to $200 a month into a production fund for this YouTube channel. So that's going to focus on things like improving the camera quality, getting better microphones, maybe taking some courses on how to produce better content. So I just want to dedicate a portion of my investment income, a portion of my earned income towards that. And yeah, that's essentially the big plan. Like my big money goal for next month is to make sure I'm able to contribute about $150 into this production fund so that I can kind of get the ball rolling with improving the quality of my YouTube content. As far as my personal investment goes for the rest of August, I'm just going to keep things pretty simple. The plan for this month is I'm going to invest roughly $1,500 into my FHSA and kind of just focus on that account for now and take a break from the TFSA. I'm pretty satisfied with where my TFSA is currently at, and I think focusing on the FHSA so I can have that tax benefit that will be incurred like early towards next year is something I'm going to probably focus on for a bit. As I mentioned earlier, add $150 to that production budget and save the rest of my investment money and probably add that back into my dry powder keg in case any opportunity pops up again for a market dip, because you never know with all the volatility that we've been seeing in the market over the past year. So without factoring the money that I'm owed to by the CRA, that brings my total net worth to roughly $93,000, and so $93,400. At least that's what I'm seeing on the Wealth Simple page up here. Give or take, essentially. Yeah, I'm sitting at about roughly $93,000. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Very happy with how my investments have been able to grow over the past several years. And I think if I'm able to be diligent and kind of focus and hone in a bit more on keeping my savings low and like making sure that I'm living below my means a lot for the next couple of months, I think that I can definitely hit the $100,000 mark in my investment portfolio before the end of the year. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully things are able to pan out and the market doesn't get too super volatile in the negative direction. But thank you very much for watching the video. Hit like, subscribe. I do plan on doing uploads at least once every week. Hopefully I can start getting, like, as I get a hang of the whole YouTube thing, maybe a couple videos a week would be a bit better. But yeah, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see how this journey pans out. And hopefully the next time I'm doing this update video, or maybe the time after now, we'll be at the 6-figure mark, which would be pretty exciting. Never know. But yeah, thank you guys very much. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.